Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, March 17th. Boy, you want to talk about March Madness. The real March Madness is the threat of a major winter storm for the I-95 corridor from Sunday into Sunday night. It looks like a coastal storm will form just off the mid-Atlantic coastline late Sunday. Colder Arctic air pours into the region late Friday night into the day on Saturday. It'll be in the 40s on Saturday, no better than 40 degrees most likely on Sunday, and precipitation is likely to push in from the southwest to the northeast, most likely in the form of snow in the immediate I-95 corridor, and there is the threat for several inches of wet snow later Sunday into Sunday night. We'll talk about a couple of the forecast models from last night's runs, specifically the GFS parallel and then the European model. The European model is perhaps the most bullish of all on the snowfall for this potential upcoming late weekend coastal storm, and we'll focus in on that after we walk through the GFS parallel run from last night's 00Z model run. This is the forecast map for this morning, and first thing I want to point out is from the GFS parallel run is now just know where this blue line is. This is the freezing line at 850 millibars, the lowest part of the atmosphere, a couple thousand feet up, and by tracking that you get an idea of how much colder air filters into the mid-Atlantic region over the next 48 to 72 hours or so. There is a cold front approaching for this afternoon. This is an initial cold front. It could cause some shower activity, perhaps some isolated thunderstorms. Some of those thunderstorms could actually produce some small hail, as they did yesterday afternoon. There's some decent cold air in the upper part of the atmosphere already. That creates some very unstable conditions and a low freezing level, which could result in some small hail in isolated thunderstorms this afternoon. So we have the first front coming through later on today. Let's now jump ahead 24 hours. And here's the forecast map, again, from last night's 0Z GFS parallel model run. This is for tomorrow morning, Friday morning. And here is a second frontal system depicted here by the kink in the isobar pattern on this particular forecast map. Again, for Friday morning, this is the main front. This is really an Arctic frontal system with Arctic air behind it, backed up by strong, cold, high pressure in southern Canada. This pushes through later tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, and will drop some 10 degrees between this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, and then following the passage of that Arctic frontal boundary, another 10 degrees from tomorrow afternoon to Saturday afternoon. Saturday afternoon, likely temperatures, high temperatures, only in the 40s, well below normal for this time of year. And here's the forecast map for Saturday morning. High pressure extending all the way from south central Canada all the way into southeastern Canada. That anchors this cold Arctic air mass coming in for the weekend. Northerly winds, northwesterly winds along the east side of the Appalachians, just flooding the coastal plain with some Arctic air on Saturday. Moisture already gathering just to the south and west early on Saturday, and some signs of a low pressure area starting to form perhaps in the southeastern part of the country. Let's jump ahead another 24 hours. And here's the forecast map for Sunday morning, again using last night's GFS parallel run. A coastal storm just off the mid-Atlantic coastline here, strengthening at this particular time. Now notice it's throwing moisture back, shown here in the form of green. Light green is light precipitation, darker green, heavier precipitation. And here is that freezing line at 850 millibars hanging right along the east coast at this time in the mid-Atlantic region as the colder air has poured in. Most likely precipitation in the form of snow at this time right along the immediate I-95 corridor. This looks like it does produce some snowfall, probably some accumulating snow in the I-95 corridor, but this is not even nearly as bullish as the European model, which we'll see in a moment here. Let's jump ahead another 24 hours. And here's the forecast map for Monday morning. So that model takes the low pressure area from off the mid-Atlantic coastline, pretty much due north or northeast, affecting Maine by this time, near the state of Maine come early Monday morning. In other words, it's very likely could affect the entire I-95 corridor from D.C. to Boston in the latter Sunday night, early Monday time frame. Well, let's now focus in on the European model. Again, this model is a little bit more bullish on the snow prospects for the I-95 Carter. This is actually from yesterday morning's 12Z European Ensemble run. It's a forecast map for Sunday morning. I just wanted to point this out because it has really a lot of ingredients necessary for a significant snow event here in the Mid-Atlantic region. First of all, we always talk about the necessity of a strong high-pressure system to the north, holding in, anchoring in the cold air. All it takes is a little bit of a flow off the ocean and you change from snow to rain in a hurry around here. You need a cold, strong Arctic high-pressure system to your north to kind of anchor in that cold air. And here we see kind of a kinkiness in the isobar pattern right here. This is referred to as cold air damming, cold air coming along the Appalachians and on the east side of the Appalachians. Indeed, that cold air looks like it will be in place, and all that is a result of the Friday afternoon Arctic frontal passage that drops from the northwest to the southeast, and that Arctic boundary sets up down along the Mid-Atlantic coastline. And here is the location from yesterday's ensemble run of the European model with a low pressure area off the Mid-Atlantic coastline. So all the ingredients are there with strong cold high pressure to the north and intensifying coastal low. Well, and now let's take a look at some of last night's 0Z European model run. These maps are from tropicaltidbits.com. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast map for Friday evening, tomorrow evening. And here is that area of deep upper level low dropping into the central plains by tomorrow night. Let's jump ahead another 24 hours. And here we go by Saturday evening, deep upper level low over Iowa, Missouri time frame, headed to the east coast here. Let's jump ahead another 24 hours. And here's the forecast map for Sunday evening from last night's 0Z European model run with a deep upper level low in this part of the atmosphere over the east central U.S. You can expect low pressure somewhere off the Mid-Atlantic coastline, perhaps right in this region right here. Kind of the sweet spot for snow in the I-95 corridor. This time of the year especially, you need to be right in that sweet spot for accumulating snow with strong high pressure to your north, low pressure at the coastline or just off the coastline. And indeed, that looks like that very well could be setting up here for the latter part of Sunday night time frame. Let's now jump ahead another 24 hours. And here you go, the European model just explodes this storm. Let's move this a little bit here. Okay, now this is a better view. We see that the European model really explodes this upper level low. It deepens it rapidly, moves all the way along the coastline, and here's the position of the 500 millibar upper level low come Monday morning, again near Maine. And again, this model, as was the GFS parallel model, suggesting accumulating snow could be extending from D.C. all the way up to Boston and indeed all the way up into Maine come Sunday night, early Monday. Well, let's now take a look at some surface forecast information from last night's 0Z model run. This is for Friday evening. I just want to point out right in here is the Arctic frontal boundary as depicted by last night's 0Z European model run. Let's now jump ahead 24 hours. And here's the forecast map for Sunday evening. Saturday evening. Low pressure now situated down across the southeastern U.S. over the state of Georgia. Colder air in place. Notice the isobars suggesting cold air pouring down the coastal plain east side of the Appalachian Mountains. Let's now jump ahead another 24 hours. And here's the forecast map for Sunday evening from last night's 0Z European model run. Low pressure situated almost perfectly for the I-95 corridor just off the Mid-Atlantic coastline, 997 millibars, a strong low, an intensifying low, pushing in this direction towards the eastern side of Maine by Monday morning. In fact, let's now jump ahead another 24 hours. And here we go, just a bomb of a storm here on the east side of Maine, 969 millibar low by the European model from last night's run for Monday morning. Very strong winds behind it in the Mid-Atlantic region with Very cold day on Monday relative to normal. So we have the prospects of accumulating snow in the I-95 corridor all the way from D.C. to Boston come later Sunday night. Of course, we'll monitor this closely over the next couple of days, but the threat is out there for accumulating snow and a strong coastal storm latter part of the weekend into the early part of next week. Stay tuned to VencoreWeather.com for updates later today and over the next couple of days. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.